Hey, it's Lowery Smith of the Commander Smiths here with searching for the spotlight, a Ragost. Looks like I kind of fucked up my. I should have probably checked my camera stuff, huh? All right, so Ragost, Deft Gastronaut, red and a white for 2/2 Lobster Citizen. Um, and so what this does, artifacts you control are foods in addition to the other types and have become food. Sack, gain 3 life for 2 mana. Or pay 1, tap Ragost, sacrifice a food. Ragost deals 3 damage to each opponent. At the beginning of each end step, if you gain life this turn, untap Ragost. And so essentially, what you can kind of go and do, hmm, play around with this, is we know that we have food life gain, so everything kind of turns into food. So if you have a little bit of food synergies, you can add that in with your red and white. It'd be great if blue was in here, but sadly it is not. Did I say blue? I meant green? I don't know. But also dealing 3 damage is pretty cool. And then if you got some sort of life gain in there as well, that is dope. So let's see here. That looks a lot better. Cool. And so that's what we're kind of going for. We got some damage enablers, we got some life gain enablers, we got a little bit of food stuff going on. And so that's kind of what we're going for, which is pretty fun. I'm pretty excited. I like food because I'm fat, but also because I don't even like lobster. I don't even know why I'm doing this. I'm gonna be drinking tonight, so I might get drunk. I'm drinking 2 of these at least. Super Stupid Hazy Triple IPA from Drastic Measure Brewing. We'll have to see how that is. I got a couple of those. I already drank some breakfast stout from Founders, which is delicious. I always suggest that. But let's go with that and let's hope that I don't spill. I should have probably put this in my good mug, but I have it in my can mug. Bad mug. Um I should say Commander Smith's is this even working? I'm seeing some glitches, which is kind of weird. Hello. Yep. Hopefully my video isn't going. But all right, if anybody hops in, tell me how. Hey, the one person watching, you want to let me know if everything is going smooth or cool, or you, because I'm seeing some lines and some glitches. I don't know what that means. Never seen that before. Shit, he ran away. Okay. All right. Let's try this beer. Yeah, it's a triple IPA. It's it's all right. All right. Commander Smith is a podcast that comes out every week on audio. We try and release it on Wednesdays, and that's normally accurate. We try and record it on YouTube on live on Monday nights, and sometimes it becomes Tuesday. And that is going to be the case for the next 2 weeks as well. So we have a Discord, we have a Patreon, we give away proxies. We do, like I said, we have the normal podcast that's every week. We do deck techs, we talk cards, we talk finance. So if you're into any or all of that, just hit the subscribe. That'd be great. If you're not watching this live, I highly suggest just putting this on 1.5, 2 times speed. I'm a slow talker. There's some not so soundy spots. So it works out. You're a smart person. So again, Ragost, turning things into food, dealing damage to everything, and sometimes you want to gain life. So let's look at some of these things. These cards, a stack around 105, I want to say. Cards, we are going to try and cut that down into the 60s. I'm probably going to give up in the or the lower 70s. I don't think this is in any real order at this point, so it's going to be a bit of a shit show, but let's go for it. All right. We have dancers, chakrams, 4 mana equipment has job select. Oh, equipped creature gets +2/+2, has life link, and other commanders you control get +2/+2 and have life link, and is a performer in addition to its other side. So you 4 mana comes into play, and it gives Ragos life link, which when it deals that 3 damage, it's going to gain you 9 life, which is going to untap you, and you can kind of go back and forth. So giving Ragos some life link seems beneficial for sure. That's a bit of an aim in here. So there's that. City on Fire. This has Convoke, so that 8 mana cost is not so brutal, but also that was chewy right there. If a source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals triple that damage instead. So that 3 turns into 9 damage to each opponent, and that's going to move that game pretty quick. You can do that 1, 2, 3, 4 times before it's your turn again. 1,000 Year Elixir is just going to allow Ragost to kind of have that haste and untap and kind of move on through. Sting the Glinting Dagger. This is something that untaps every during your opponent's upkeep. And so you get potentially more untapped triggers if you have mana open and artifacts to sacrifice. Um, and so we'll just see where we're at that point. Alhamrit's Archive. If you draw an extra card beyond the first one, you're going to draw twice as many cards. And if you would gain life, you get to gain twice that much life. You like drawing cards and you like gaining life in this. Anytime that's the case, I like to at least see if Archive is going to fit in the deck. Something like Zimone and Dina is somewhere else that I really like it as an example. Broadside Bombardiers, 2/2 haste, menace, sacrifice another creature or artifact. In this deck, it's going to be just artifacts, and then it deals damage equal to the CMC +2 to any target. I've been kind of looking for a deck. It is a really cool card, but I don't know where to put it. I'm not playing many sacrifice decks, and maybe I'm forcing it. Now that I'm talking my way through it, I'm making excuses to try and fit it into the deck. And if that's the case, I should just cut it. So let's do that. You have Surtur Fiery Jotun. I must be in the damage spot. But it's 5/5 trampler for 5. Whenever you cast a historic spell, you're casting a lot of artifacts in this, which are historic. And then Surtur is going to be able to deal 3 damage to any target. So it gives you a little bit of reach. It's kind of a little bit like Ragost happening, but also adding that removal aspect being any target. So I think this is also a really cool one. I hope to be able to play with it. Apothecary White. This is one of those food cards. So whenever you attack, create a food token for each creature or each player being attacked. And then you can pay a white, tap it, tap X, untap food you control, create X 1/1 white human creature tokens. And it has vigilance. And so you can potentially attack willy nilly, 3 players, get 3 food, and then pay 1 white, tap this, tap it, all the food that you have because they're not really tapping for anything else, and then make a lot of tokens. Probably don't want to attack with Apothecary White either, kind of protect it and just build that army up. Also, with 1,000 Year Elixir or Sting, potentially being able to do it a time or two. You'd need more food untapped, so maybe Unwinding Clock is something that you're gonna need. Probably the only choice in red white. If you're in green, you get Seedborn Muse, but that's probably where we're at this point. All right. Elish Norn, you have a lot of enchant or artifacts coming into play with an ETB, generally drawing you cards. So like Archive, draw you a second card. Goblin Engineer. Generally, I don't play with tutors, but this is kind of one that I like because this is a sack outlet. It's able to go and get you artifacts that you're already sacrificing back into play. It's a lot of utility, not just being used as a tutor to go and find an artifact and put it in your graveyard, which is also a great aspect of this card. Um, but I really want that utility of juggling back and forth from play and into the graveyard as well. Ingenious Artillerist. Whenever you have any artifact enter, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Just a way to get the game moving forward. Feels very much like the 3 damage to everybody. So that's where we're at. Same thing with Reckless Fireweaver, just cheaper mana, bigger butt. Hobbit Sting, 2 mana instant. It deals X damage to target creature, where X is the number of creatures you control. Um, Plus the number of food you control. You're going to have a lot of food as long as the lobster's in play. So I think that's going to be, you're going to hit some big creatures. I think having it not hit whatever you want is a little bit of problem, but we're going to have to see how much removal we have in the deck. Generally, I'm playing pretty light, and that's detriment to me most of the time. So we'll keep that around for now. Sunshot Militia. Tap 2 untapped artifacts and or creatures you control. It deals 1 damage to each opponent. Activate only as a sorcery. So I like the CMC. I like the bud on it. And then just being able to tap food for 1 damage to everything. Like, you're going to add a bunch and it's repetitive. So I like that. Weapons Manufacturing, 2 mana enchantment. Whenever a non-token artifact you control enters, create a colorless artifact token named Munitions. With when this token leaves the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to any target. It's basically just adding more artifacts that are going to deal more damage, and it's like the perfect card for the lobster. Chandra's Incinerator. It's gonna you do Ragost reduced by 6, which is really just 5. You pay a red, play a 6/6 trampler, and then whenever you activate or whenever you deal non-combat damage to an opponent, you also get to choose a creature of theirs and deal that much damage to that creature. It's a lot of removal, and it's a fantastic card in any Niv Mizzet deck. Something like Ragos, like this is a fantastic card. Basically, you're removing 3 things. 1 from each opponent. They're gonna get pissed, but it's awesome. Arbaz Mur. So whenever you have another non-token historic permanent enter the battlefield under your control, deals 1 damage to each opponent and you gain 1 life. Not as good when you have the tokens happening versus the Fire Weaver, but you're not really banking on tokens in this deck, so it should work out pretty well for you. Enim Pekel. It's basically whenever you attack with 1 or more non-gnome creatures, put a 1/1 counter on a Nim, and then create X/1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature tokens that are tapped and attacking, where X is the number of 1/1 counters on a Nim Packle. Your red white deck, you like the gnomes because they're artifacts, and so it might be a little slow. It just depends on potentially how many 1/1 counters you can kind of put on it. And right now, let's cut it just because I don't think there's a lot of 1/1 counter stuff. Let's see. Yeah, it's just attack, put a 1/1 counter on it. Da 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 da. Yeah. We can cut it, I think. All right, Dig Site Engineer. 3 mana, 3/3. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, pay 2 and create a Construct, which is basically a huge creature for you. And another like artifact ETB trigger. And it's kind of value. I've liked it since it's been spoiled years back at this point, but I really haven't played it all a ton. I do think that it fits nicely in this deck or like an Oscure deck. So Ratchet Field Medic feels like what this deck wants to do. Whenever you gain life, you may convert Ratchet, and when you do, return target artifact card with mana value less or equal to the amount of life you gained this turn from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So gaining 2 life with the life link on there converts over to, there's no backside. No, backside is 1/4 life link. Whenever 1 or more non-token artifacts you control are put into a graveyard from the battlefield, which is sacrificing with Ragost, you convert this back. So you basically attack, gain life, flip this, bring something back, cast something, sacrifice it, return that back, and then you're just going to go back and forth all the time. Oh, good for me. What did I do? You're right. I'm pretty lucky. Legion Excruder. When it ETBs, it deals 2 damage to any target. And then you can sacrifice another artifact to create a 3/3 artifact token. Um, it's dealing damage, sacrificing stuff, creating tokens. It's pretty cool. Hopefully. I think it'll be good. Getting into I don't really have, it's kind of random, just cutting as I'm going along. But Workshop Assistant, there's a handful of cards that are like this. Whenever it dies, return another target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. So if you get a couple of these in your graveyard, you can juggle them back and forth as you're sacrificing them to Ragost or some other cards. And then you just kind of never run out of artifacts. Mirror Retriever is the same thing, just at 2 mana. Yep. And then Scrap Trawler does it for any artifact that enters into the graveyard. You can pick something that has lesser CMC than it and put it back in your hand, which is cast, yada yada. Just some good juggling going on there. Junk Diver, whenever another artifact, uh, whenever it dies, return target artifact card from your yard to your hand. So again, another part of juggling. Spawning Pit, sacrificing creatures for free to potentially create 2/2 spawn artifact creature tokens. So just more artifacts that are being created. Mirror Sire, when it dies, create a 1/1 colorless Phyrexian mirror artifact. So a lot of effects when something goes into the graveyard, has it happen. Servo Schematic, when it ETBs or dies, create a 1/1 servo. Nimble Right Schematic, whenever ETBs or leaves, create a 1/1 colorless construct. You have Illustrious Wanderglyph. 2/2, if you have 10 or more permanents, all your artifact creatures get +2/+2 and have the city's blessing. And then at the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature token. So, I mean, it's a big boost for a lot of your creatures and a lot of your cards. Not all of them. Ragost is not a artifact, but it gives a nice big boost. Foundry Inspection. Artifact spells cost 1 less to cast, which will help with the Junk Diver type cards, being able to juggle them a lot easier. Same thing with Voyager Quick Welder. Also, they're both artifacts, so they just kind of fit in the theme, but artifact spells cost 1 less. Yeah, Metalworker, which is bonkers in any artifact heavy deck. If you don't got one, I'd say trade in for credit from some big company and just break down and kind of get the card. All right. Looping and pooping artifact. That's accurate. That's accurate right there. Looping and pooping. But Metalworker, tap, reveal any number of artifact cards from your hand, and then you get 2 mana for each of those artifacts. Not unheard of to get like 8 mana off this card on turn 4. It is a force. Victory Chimes, untap during each other player's untap step. Since this is untapping and that is untapping, and it's only one to sacrifice something, they just work perfectly together. I think this is automatically in there. And there's a new one coming out that gives you a color of any mana, but if it's just untapping, perfect. Inspiring Statuary, non-artifact spells you control have improvise, which is tapping artifacts for mana for those non-artifact spells. I like this when there's a heavy mix of both in a deck. So we'll see where that goes. Nuka-Cola vending machine, create a food. Whenever you sack a food, you get a treasure. So whenever you sacrifice a treasure, you get a food. When the treasures are foods, it's probably disgusting. We'll go from there. Prize statue. Whenever ETBs or dies, you get a treasure token. Grim Monolith. Let's see. I don't even have the other one. And excuse me. So it taps for 3. You can pay for it on tap it. My plan is using it like a ritual, but also a sacrifice. just get rid of it to Ragost and deal 3 damage. I want normally something a little bit more for Grim Monolith, like untapping. Normally it's like a key of some type or winding clock. And the big thing is that it is kind of a feel bad card because a lot of people don't have them. One of our rules are we do play with proxies, but if you have a proxy, you got to own the card. I do own one, maybe two. Adam might have sold the other one. Um, but the card's good. It's not as good if you're not willing to break it. Also, I should point out, I generally don't like to play full on infinite combo. I generally don't like to play control and or counter spells. So that limits what I do, but also it's pretty fun to play with me. That's what my wife said. Except for that one guy who doesn't own the cards and just proxies them anyway. Yeah, yeah. When somebody proxies them and they don't, you gotta have a discussion with them a little bit. Like some people don't have to follow the rules if they're new to the group or whatever, but also it sucks when they're just proxying powerful cards that are beyond what the group is doing as well. So I mean, there's definitely a balance and a discussion to being had, but it feels a lot more like instead of switching Grim Monolith from X, Y, and Z decks, I just have a proxy of it and it's fine. It feels at least less shitty. I don't know. So, mana. Mycosynth Wellspring. When an ETBs or dies, you go get a basic land, put it in your hand. Talisman of Conviction for that mana ramp. Boros Signet for that mana ramp. Planar Atlas. You know what? I'm a huge fan of this in 2-color non-green decks. And so 2 mana comes into play tapped. Look at the top 4 cards, put a land from them into your hand, and it can tap for a colorless. I mean, this does a lot for 2 mana. I really like it. Mind Stone for that colorless and tap or sack for a draw. There's that Mana Volt for the same reason with Grim Monolith. Lotus Petal, just because I got some of that, Scrap Trawler really likes Lotus Petal. Potentially some of the baubles. I think I cut those at this point, but Scrap Trawler is just 1 of 99, right? And so I don't bank on that being there. But if there's enough cards that care about really cheap artifacts in the graveyard, then I can go get the baubles and or Lotus Petal. But I like it. Curse of Opulence. It's going to get you some gold for that mana. It's not treasures. It's better than treasures, and they stopped making it. Wayfarer's Bauble. Sacrifice, go get a basic land, put it into play tapped. Soul Ring for that ramp. Mox Opal. Yeah. If you have a artifact deck, this should be probably in there, depending on what speed you want to be going. One of the problems that I think I'm going to have with a lot of this powerful ramp is the deck's going to be potentially too quick, along with Ragost just being 2 mana. So it's something that I'm going to have to be like conscious of. But also I could just sacrifice the ramp as it's going. So there's that. Mana Tithe or Smothering Tithe for those treasures and to piss off everybody. Neheb, the Eternal. Um, it's there for the beginning of the post combat main phase. Add red for each 1 life your opponents have lost this turn. 1 red ghost is going to get you 9 mana on that post combat phase. And this is pretty good. So I'm going to try and go for that. Ugin the Ineffable here for the colorless spells costing 2 less. So just like free cantrips feels probably pretty good, especially if you're able to start juggling and doing a bunch of stuff. So that's the hope. Cavern Horde Dragon, whenever it deals damage, you get treasures for the amount of artifacts that player has that you're dealing damage. Also, affinity for artifacts, I get like opponent affinity for artifacts. There we go. Um, it just is going to make a bunch of treasures, which are really food. Ichor Wellspring, whenever ETBs or dies, draw a card. All right. That's the first half. Is there anything? I took out 2 cards so far, which is not a good pace. I think I already admitted that I'm gonna have too much ramp. So let's get rid of tithe just because that's the one that seems to make everybody quite mad. I hope to make an oog in the the effable. Yes, yes, that is what I want as well. And it makes colorless spells cost 2 more, the exact opposite. And it has 5 colors? Ugh, that sounds terrible. That's alright. They make bad magic cards all the time. Alright. Got a little buggo down here. There we go. See if there's anything that I just no, Mind Stone because it can sacrifice itself. Draw you a little card. Is there anything that I just talked about that I'm just like, that's really not going to work after I'm talking about that? This might not be enough. Like it's nice to get ETB, get something, dies, get something. Um, this might be too slow as well. Legion Extruder, but I do like the removal. I don't have a lot of removal. That 2 damage might matter. Um, oh, you know what? Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Okay. So what am I doing here? I'm damaging, I'm gaining life, and turning things into food. And so Dig Engineer basically just gets me big beaters, which is good, but they're just beaters. They're not doing anything. They're not doing anything on theme with Ragost. So I think I got to get rid of it for now. That's what we're doing. Damage, 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 damage. Cullen Engineer. Elish Norn. We're probably fine with that for now. Tokens. It creates food. I do like that. But then again, like I was just saying, we're not really going wide. We're kind of just doing damage, gaining life, and making food. That's kind of the goal. And so Apothecary White can be good going wide. Um but it's not doing the damage, life gain, or food. It's doing the food. Okay, let's chill. Surtur, Archive, Sting, Thousand Year Elixir, City on Fire, Dancers, Chakram. Cool, 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 cool. Not a lot. We just got rid of Dig Site. Okay. All right. Second half of this first batch. All right. Instant Ramen. When it ETBs, draw a card. It can sacrifice for food. Golden Egg, same thing. Draw a card, gain life. Alchemist Vial, draw a card when it ETBs or sack it, and target creature can't attack or block this turn. I like that one. Wedding Invitation, ETBs draw a card, and then tap sack for an ability. Sleeper Dart, tap or ETB draw a card, tap sack for an ability. I'm not gonna really care about that because they're there for the ETB draw a card and sacrifice if I need to. Astrid Perth. When it enters or attacks, create a food token, and whenever you sacrifice a clue or a food, you get to explore, which is gonna reveal a top card. If it's a land, put it in your hand. If not, 1/1 counter, and you can put it in the graveyard or whatever. But for 2 mana, 2/2, that's doing a lot, especially in this deck. So I do like it in this deck. Tally Wakeen, perfect shot. 2 mana, 2/3. Whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to a creature equal to that creature's toughness, draw a card. So some of the stuff that we're dealing damage directly to a creature is something like the let's see here. Where are we at? We have Surtur, we have Chandra's Incinerator, we have Not a lot that we've talked about so far. So the problem that I like Tail Joaquin, but the problem is that we're doing Legion Extruder as a one-off. Yeah, Incinerator would be really, really good. Weapons manufacturing does work. I didn't think about that one. That's just to opponents. That's to a creature, but it's likely not gonna be exact to be able to draw a card. Surtur, already said that. But, uh no, no, I don't have Aetherflux Reservoir in here. That one, I probably won't be gaining enough life for that. I could be casting off spells, but that is one, as the name that you typed out is, it shows that there is a bit of disdain. Adam really likes the card as well, so it is in our play group quite a bit. So it's something that I try and hold back and make sure that I don't put it in any and every deck that it works with. I think I have it in like 2 of my 20 decks right now. Um, it could definitely work in something like this though. Good suggestion. Uh, second ability is X tap. If a source you control would deal non-combat damage to a permanent or player, this turn it deals that much damage plus X instead. Essentially, that's the big one where it's like dump all your mana into it, tap it, Rogast, and it's doing, X amount of damage, whatever mana you have left. But really, is it going to be better than like Burn the City? Is it going to be better than a Torbrand? Might be a stretch that this is any good now that we're talking about it. We can cut it because we already get 3 out of it. And so you'd have like that first 3 doesn't mean a lot. Does help with the other cards though. Like ping, 1 damage to everything. It is what it is. Oswald Fiddlebender. This is something that I think could really work in the deck. Sacrifice an artifact, go search for something, put it into play. That's 1 plus the CMC of whatever you sacrificed. But I don't really like playing with tutors. I can't give this a reason. I like the Goblin Engineer. There's a lot more utility there rather than tutoring. There's tutoring. If you like that, you definitely smoke it. Do it. Esper Sentinel for that draw. Sensei's Divining Top because it goes in every one of my decks because I think it's one of the most fun cards, and I think it's one of the best cards. So hand in hand, but also I just love it. Have you done a deck tour of Feather? Yeah, you've been thinking about building it, but I've never made a rush deck for Commander. You know what? I did do that. If you want to check through, um, Mr. Whittam, are you in the Discord? Otherwise, it's definitely on our YouTube channel. I can post it in the Discord if you are there. I'd have to go through. It's trying to think of when I killed it. I killed it this summer, so it's not too far back. But it's one of my favorite decks, and it really hurt to take that one apart. Circuit Mender, ETBs to gain 2 life, so that life gain. Also, when it dies, draw a card. Doing some work. Same thing. Oh, I was expecting the fox. Where the fuck is that fox? Filigree, familiar. ETB, gain 2 life. When it dies, draw a card. I do like the ETB and dying, having both of those. That's pretty sure. How do I join? Unfortunately, if you want to become a patron and $1 will get you into the Discord. I set all that up and I wouldn't be able to get you in right now since I'm recording live with you. But if you do sign up, I'd be able to get you there. But it's probably pretty easy to just go through the YouTube, and if wherever the deck techs are, you can probably just flip through a little bit and it should be there. Okay. The gaffer is at the end of each end step. If you gain 3 or more life, you draw a card. So there's potential to gain a lot of life and draw a lot of cards. Halia, new one, warp. You know what? I've really liked the warp mechanic. And I'm hoping to play with that a bit more. But whenever this or another creature or artifact ETBs, you gain a life. And at the beginning of your end step, unlike Gaffer. Gaffer's every end step. This is your end step. If you gain 3 or more life, you get to draw a card. So both are really good together, though. Pia's Revolution. Whenever a non-token artifact is put in your graveyard from the battlefield, return that card to your hand unless target opponent has it deal 3 damage to him or her. A dollar is fair. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you. They have annoying hosts. I'm sure I'm annoying to some people. I'm just lucky that I have Adam. I'll admit that for sure. Pia's Revolution is kind of there for that juggling aspect as well. Quicksmith Genius. Whenever you have an artifact come to play, you get to discard a card. If you do, draw a card. If you got a lot of artifacts in a deck, this is going to be able to run you through. I got a little bit of artifact stuff going on, or graveyard stuff. So this works really well in there. Yeah, you're right. I do only annoy Adam for sure. Uh, Especially with that prep time and the notes that I take for the podcast. That has to be frustrating. Low shield, Clockwork Scholar. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to attacking artifact creatures you control. And whenever one or more artifact creatures ETB, once per turn, you get to draw a card. And so drawing cards, preventing your attacking artifacts. I have enough artifact creatures that I want to be aggressive with in this deck so far. So that's a good add in there. Commander's Sphere. It's just one of those cards that I can sacrifice and bring back with some of that scrap trawler stuff. I think the question is going to be trying to find balance between sack outlets, things that sacrifice themselves, and making sure that I have enough artifacts on the field. And so we'll see. We'll see what gets there. But Commander Sphere is pretty cool. Same thing with Blitzball, but being able to draw 2 if a legend dealt damage. Doesn't have to be your legends. Just saying. Any legend dealing combat damage to a player, you get to tap, sack, draw a card. The question is how often can I bring these back and just kind of cycle through them? And that could be a nice little thing. I don't get to play with Commander Sphere that much these days, but that's where we're at. Same thing with Solemn Simulacrum. Like ETB, go get a land, dies, draw a card. I really like this. If I was in white and black, I'd be super happy adding in like Teysa Karlov with some of those death triggers. There might be enough of them at the end, but yeah, Commander Sphere outside of the precon 2015. That's what I'm saying. Like sometimes it's just like, ooh, this could work. It's been a long time since I played with it. I'm an old man at this point. Nostalgia works on me, and so that's where I'm at. The same thing with Solemn. Doretti Scrap Savant. You got the discard and drawing. You have some returning the artifacts back to play. So the sack outlet part, it's kind of doing a lot. And I think it could really work in this deck too. Taysar Ancestral Apostle. Okay, so this is kind of their 2/2 flyer. Whenever he casts a historic spell, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from the yard to the battlefield. I've really liked this in some of my decks. The question is am I going to have artifacts that some creatures in the yard that I can bring back on a consistent basis? I do have a sack outlet. I'd have to be sacrificing artifact creatures that are 3 or less, which I have enough, especially like Mirror Retriever type cards. And so the question ends up being, is this part of the juggling process, or is it just a piece that's getting in the way? I'm not sure. And for now, let's leave it just cuz. Mystic Forge, you can cast artifacts off the top of your spell or off the top of your library. And that's just going to draw you more cards. See more cards. Will of Lost Dreams. You're going to gain life in this deck. You get to pay mana for each life that you gain to draw cards. Yeah, you should be able to draw a bunch of cards. Archangel of Thune. Each trigger of gaining life, you get to put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. That could be good with Anim Pakel that I already cut. But this should just make creatures a threat in this deck. Um, and I do like that. Battle Mage's Bracers. This is there to double the activated abilities of the lobster. And I like your bread too, Fernando. Um, but just like being able to double Ragost's activated ability and just being able to end the game a bit quicker without having to sacrifice so many artifacts. It's kind of like a doubler instead of a tripler, like Fire in the City or whatever that one is. Let's see that. City on Fire. There we go. And so this is a doubler along with being able to work with some of the other activated ability, like creatures with activated abilities. And I should probably let's do that later. So we got that. Battle Mage's Bracers, Mithril Coat just to give that indestructible to Ragost. Hey, thanks. Thanks, Fernando. Thanks for joining. Uh no, not much. I'm not getting a lot of cuts in. Oswald, Tally, that was already Dig Site Engineer, Smothering Tithe, Packle, Bombardiers. That's it. That's what I've cut so far at this point. Kind of going through the deck right now, and then we'll get more aggressive. Just want to show off some of the cards and ideas because they're fun. Boots and Greaves for that protection. Illusionist Bracers for doubling that again. Scrap Heap is a really cool one that I found. Whenever an artifact or enchantment is put in the graveyard from play, you gain 1 life. So it's great against anybody playing treasures or, you're playing food, but also just works perfect with the lobster. Sacrifice a thing, have the effect happen, gain 1 life next at the end of the turn, untap it so you can do it again the next turn. And it just is going to allow you to go back and forth. So Scrap Heap is pretty cool. Sun Droplet, whenever you dealt damage, put that many charge counters on it. During each upkeep, gain 1 life, which is going to untap Ragost at the end of the turn. Oh, yeah, Scrap Heap. Yeah. It's going to gain you a bunch of life, I'd say. Leonin Elder, whenever an artifact comes into play, any artifact comes into play, you get to gain 1 life. You have Soul's Attendant and Soul Warden. Whenever any other creature ETBs, you get to gain 1 life. And that's the big thing is there are enough cards out here that are similar to these ideas, but they'll say whenever you have a creature come into play or an opponent come into play, if it says any, it's just superior. Then next is whenever an opponent has a creature come into play, because they likely between 3 players are likely going to have more creatures come into play than you, unless you're like super token heavy. But then are you really a life gain deck at that point too? You might just be an overrun deck and it might not matter. So that's something to think about when you're deck building. Authority of the Councils, that's when creatures your opponents control enter battlefield tap, and whenever an opponent's creatures come into play, you gain 1 life. So you're going to gain a bunch of life that way. Restoration Magic, it is giving the lobster indestructible and hexproof, and then the potential for some life gain in there that can untap Ragost. Urza's token every turn, so you'll gain a lot of life off. Well, look, he talks a good game with Urza's Saga, and just because he likes it doesn't mean that it's good. Number one, doesn't mean it's good. Number two, he like never sees it. Like, I don't even think he plays with it very much. I think he just likes to talk shit. All right. So let's be honest. Um, Shadow Spear on Ragost is life gain, gaining 9 life. Same thing with Basilisk Caller, gaining 9 life. Felder Umbra, life gain, gaining 9 life. Also, that little bit of protection with the totem armor. Spirit Loop, life gain on Ragost, but also if it removes and goes in the graveyard, this goes back to your hand, so you're not just losing stuff. Spectrum Sentinel. Um, this one's pretty cool. 1 mana for a 1/2 protection from multicolored, and whenever a non-basic land enters the battlefield under your opponent's control, you get to gain a life. This one's probably I'll cut it just because it seems less effective than life gain or the creature's ETB. But this is one that I really like. I really wish I could play it more. Um, it just it's not fitting anywhere and it's frustrating. But I really like it. Mr. Hockey, Mr. Book Hockey, um, he has it in his colorless deck, and you know what? You gain him life against just me. So that I'm a sucker, but it seems like it's gonna be good. I'd like to see it played more, but we'll cut it. Deflection SWAT for that protection, Boros Charm for that indestructible, Teferi's protection for that. Ooh, protection. The Battle of Baywater, destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater, and then create a food token for each creature you control. So it's creating food, a wrath that's only 3 mana. I don't really have a boost on much stuff, so most creatures are going to be less. Like the only thing that's really not going to work is if I have where'd that angel go? The one that puts 1/1 counters on for each life gain trigger. Like that's going to get pretty crazy. I I become yeah, but I book hockey is that's how a pirate would say it or spell it at least. I don't know. Lobster happy. Yes. So Battle of Baywater, Goblin Welder just to have a little bit more juggling from the graveyard to the field. All right, back to something that I like the idea of before and not so much either. Like it's something that I want to play with, but swift reconfiguration turns the lobster into an artifact. It makes it not a creature. So if somebody goes for a wrath effect, or if they are, destroy target creature or deal damage to creatures, you can just flash it in and basically save it. And all this is doing is you want it for all the other effects. You don't need to attack. Okay, I'm talking myself into it again. I think that's going to be really good if I can make this not a creature. So, I think I'm happy with that. Let's keep that around. Of herbs and stewed rabbits. Uh, it's an untap with that one artifact. Yeah, for sure. Yep. So the herbs one, put a 1/1 counter on up to one target creature, create a food token. Not the best part, but then draw a card, create a food token. Oh, you got 2 food. And then create a 1/1 white halfling creature token for each food you control. All your artifacts are um food. And so you're going to create a lot of 1/1 halfling creatures. Did I keep Apothecary White? I think I did. And so at least we have 2 good cards that are going wide. So at least that's better than Dig Site Engineer just going tall. We have an artifact that stops people from Norn's Annex. There we go. Got there. But if they want to attack you, they got to pay a white or 2 life. It is an artifact. It can come into play cheap. That form life that you would probably pay in this deck is nullified by just all the life gain that should be happening. So I like that quite a bit. Panharmonicon, doubling those ETB triggers on all the artifacts is going to be pretty good, just like the Elish Norn that was way earlier. Drum Bellower, flying, untap all creatures you control during each other player's untap step. At this point, Ragost is like the only creature with an activated ability in this deck. I'll double check on that as I'm going through everything, but this one is potentially cuttable. Oh no, you know what? So cards like Scrap Welder, Goblin Engineer, stuff like that, that's gonna be really good. So Drum Bellower probably stays in. But Scrap Welder, 3 mana, 3/3, tap, sack an artifact with mana value X, return an artifact with X or less. Dispatch for that pinpoint removal on a creature, and Perilous Mirror when it dies, deal 2 damage to target creature player. All right. That's kind of everything. I'm gonna be honest. After going through this, I feel like this mirror that the damage and then the one that when it dies create a 1/1 mirror. I think those can go because they don't have an ETB ability. They are creatures, which could be nice with what's her name? What? I don't think I'm there we go. Tayshar? That could be kind of nice to be able to go back and forth and put it back into play, but I think that's worth cutting. So let's get rid of the token mirror right there. Mirror sire. Let's cut that. And let's cut perilous mirror for the 2 damage. Just not doing enough in that regard. All right, let's go with CMC. And then death trigger guys. Drum? Oh, I'm probably high 90s right now. Hour into this already? Sorry, 50. All right. I'm going to go CMC first and just see where the curve is sitting. And cuz normally that's an easy way to see like, oh, am I fat? I have a feeling I'm pretty good on my curve. Let's be honest. I know what I'm doing. That's not true. I am a fucking um whatever. But the big thing is just making sure that in a deck like this, you kind of want to be moving through a bunch with all these cantrips, and anything that's too high is just never going to get cast. So you just want to make sure. So something like Ugin the Ineffable just potentially will never be cast in this kind of deck. Um, and so we just want to make sure there isn't too much competition if that's what we really want to have happen. 5, 1, 3. That's likely being at 3. Choose 1. Choose. Yeah. Normally I play a lot of like 2 and 3 mana. That's where I'm pretty thick when it comes to my curves, just because I want to draw a lot of cards and I want to cast a lot of spells. I never want to feel like I'm doing nothing on a turn. I don't want to feel like I'm taking off a turn. And so that's generally I go for like a feel on how the deck is going. Like I got nothing at that 4 spot. So any the 2 cards above 6 both have a cost reduction in convoke and less from artifacts that your opponent control. I have no problem with either of them. I feel like they'd be really good with um the non-combat damage stuff that I have going on with City on Fire. I'm pretty happy with both those. I sound like probably I probably do sound like a Storm player, but I don't like going infinite and or um but I do what is it? I like to turn knobs and blow whistles, like just like I like to go, this happened and then this happened and this happened and then I don't win the game. Like but I'm scary and then I like get focus on me and then if I can fend off all the focus, then I can break through and kind of win the game. And if I can't, I lose, and I lose more than I win. Let's be honest. Shauna's Incinerator and Ugin the Ineffable are the 2 that are over at that 6 spot. Again, not a lot between anything over 5. And so this is not a threat to not being played. The only thing that's going to be tough is Ugin the Ineffable. Um, and that is a later game when you start juggling a lot, casting from your hand and from the graveyard, and that makes it okay. So we're cool there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't like it to be impossible though. Rube Goldberg is a good way, but I don't like it to be like 5 pieces that have to work together. I want to make sure that like if this card only works well with 1, 2, or 3, it's unlikely to get those in play at the same time, and so I don't like dead cards either, if that makes sense. Because like, I always wanna feel like I can do something, and if I am waiting on one card for another card to work that's not my commander, I generally don't like it. 5 CMC spot, um, with Archive, which is kinda secondary Elish Norn and a Panharmonicon. Um, I'm probably gonna be nice. I'm gonna cut Elish Norn right now just because it creates a lot of hate and feel bads within a game, when they don't get their ETBs. Also, that's not necessarily important to my game because all I'm trying to do is kinda burn them out as much as possible, which is really just like life gain, untap, and just last. So, I'm gonna cut Elish Norn, but I'm gonna keep Archive for sure. I really like the idea of Neheb, but how much. Yeah, yeah, that feels like a good. If I can get like 9 mana, ooh, that feels good. I think I'll run out of a hand pretty quick. That's something I gotta think about. It might just be like too much. Maybe just a little seething song at a lower CMC would just be better. Um, but again, you want some powerful cards in there. I do like Surtur, especially if I'm trying to cast a bunch of spells. This probably is like a bad version of Aetherflux Reservoir. That might be the better way to look at this, like just a worse, way worse version, but more in line with what's going on. So we're good there. I like Archangel of Thune too. It just kind of gives a different way to win and outside of burn. Just it'll grow your whole army. I do like Archangel of Thune. Um, that's a really good question. I think I'm back to Nahab, just going like might be over the top and Wonderglyph. I think this we'll see how many artifact creatures we're affecting, and if we're not doing enough, we'll probably cut it. But that'll be on the next batch. And really, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm under 10 cards that are 5 plus CMC. Like that's not going to be clogging up my hand too much. And they should be powerful, making sure that the game moves forward. Burgie definitely could work, and I think it was in the pile. But I ended up cutting it along with that novelist. You're gonna get a look at everything that's already been cut a bit. Let's see here. So yeah, so crime novelist would be really good with sacrificing stuff, but the problem in my mind is right now that I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get to that juggling part where I'm casting stuff from my hand, sacrificing it, doing again, having it come back. And so I'm just not confident. There's Burgie right there. So like Burgie's there, crime novelist. There's some good opportunity there. And if I feel confident that I can do that, they'll get added in. But right now I'm just not sure how much I'm gonna be able to do that. And the biggest problem ends up being getting something from the yard to my hand. Or is it better that I'm just going from the yard into play and not worrying about casting the spells? maybe there's not enough support for either one of them, and you need to bring them together. So that's what happens when I end up making the deck, testing it, and going, "Oh, that doesn't work," and then just fucking cutting stuff. 4 mana is pretty thin for that CMC spot, so I don't know. But Dancer's Chakrams is giving Ragost lifelink and a boost. Um, I think it's a really cool card, especially in this deck. I just kind of saw it when I was looking around building this. But right now, I think we'll sit on this Apothecary White just to go wide a little bit. Panharmonicon, we cut Elish Norn, we'll keep Panharmonicon. Solemn is perfect in this deck, and that feels I'm happy about that. Doretti Scrap Savant also works really well. I'm happy with that in here. Mystic Forge, Well of Lost Dream, pretty happy with that, especially with like Victory Charms. If I could get a little bit more, looks like I did cut Unwinding Clock, which is okay. But if I can get that new rock that's coming out in where is it? I think it's the Avatar set where it's Victory Chimes that untaps every upkeep, but it gives you any color of mana instead of just colorless like that. Um Wall of Lost Dreams, I do think that's going to draw me a ton of cards. I think at this point, cutting those mirror, I'm drinking. And how do you test decks generally? You know what? I goldfish them. I'm gonna cut Tishar. The my biggest thing is just getting it down to 100 and shuffling it up and then seeing how it plays and flows. I actually used to do videos of just goldfishing decks, and then there was about like 4 people that would watch them. So then I stopped doing it because I would save my time and change cards instead of just being able to do it, and just more time efficient this way to make decks that work for myself, and nobody enjoyed it either way. So, all right, that 3 spot, you got plenty of cards here, and this is likely where we're going to be cutting from in the 2 and the 3 spot. 1,000 Year Elixir. This is one we'll look at when we make our card types, and we'll just see how many cards that creatures that this works with. But otherwise, it's a fantastic card. Ingenious Artillerist, like this is perfect in here. I'm pretty happy. Ratchet works. Workshop Assistant, Junk Driver. This is the heat of what we want to be doing. Yeah. This is going wide, just like white apothecary white. There we go. And so the question is do we want to go wide? This does not make artifact creatures. That is a minus for it, but still doesn't make it a bad card. Like you can get a lot of tokens off that. Norn's Annex, having a little bit of protection. I don't think I'm going to be really creature heavy. And so being an artifact versus something like the enchantments that do the same effect to stop people, I'd rather have this than those, even though those are better. Because I feel like the artifact is just going to be more on theme. Drum Bellower, same thing with 1,000 Year Elixir. Scrap Welder. X from your graveyard to the battlefield, doesn't have to be sacked. So this is just like a bad Goblin Welder, but it's still good at 3 mana. So I'd be happy with that. Foundry Inspector, Voyager, those are fine. I like Metalworker. Metalworker feels to where like here's the funny thing. When we were talking about like feel bad cards that are kind of old, I don't remember what we were talking about. Oh, Grim Monolith. So we're talking about Grim Monolith, and it's like everybody knows that's really good and it feels bad. To whereas like Metalworker just fucking feels amazing. I don't know. I can't explain it because it feels better. But God, I don't feel bad at all playing this. Uh Hey, Parks, how's it going? Uh, a really lean 2 to 3 mana cards in deck building now helps when you can always play something early, then can double triple spell later. Yep, for sure. On the same page, Mr. Wyndham. The biggest thing about like being fat in that 2 and 3 mana spot is just making sure that you're drawing enough cards. And so if you don't have cards to cast, then you're just going to run out and like peter out by the end of the game. The other thing too is making sure, and I have this problem is making sure that you have enough power at the end of the game to match everybody else because it just depends on your play group, right? Sometimes um, play groups are like ramp, 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 huge spell, huge spell, huge spell, who's winning or who's stopping me type thing. Some of them are just, there's going wide. There's so many different play styles that you kind of got to figure out what works for you. Oftentimes, Adam builds engines, even though I'm like Rube Goldberg machines. Adam is just like a fucking wind machine, like just engine turning, turning, turning. And if you didn't stop him on that second turn, like he did his thing, you're like, "Ooh, that's pretty good. We I hope we stop him." And if we don't stop him, he just kind of wins. And it's like, "Holy shit." And so like you just got to find that good spot. It's okay for him to win sometimes, but you don't want to make sure that he overpowers every game either. Feels like it may Eruth Tormented Prophecy deck. I'm not sure what that is, Brian. You want to let me know what that is? Look, Adam's going to poop his pants whether he wins quickly or not. Like, there's just nothing I can do about it. Like I said earlier, Victory Chimes is something that I really like. We don't have a lot of high CMC, like I was saying earlier. I think we can cut Inspiring Statuary, even though I love that card. Probably my favorite card from the set from Kaladesh initially. So, Nuka Cola vending machine. I think this is an auto include. I don't have to debate that very much. Circuit Mender and Familiar, like them both a lot too. They might be a little too fiddly diddly, but also I need some creatures in the deck. So we're probably gonna go with that. The Gaffer and Halia are totally in the deck. Pia's Revolution also likely in the deck. Quicksmith Genius allows me to see a lot of cards, but it doesn't give you that card advantage other than Archive. Archive could, ooh, shit. That could be fun. You could be drawing a lot of cards with that then. Excuse me. Okay, that can be in. Losheel, Clockwork Scholar. Okay, so the next bit is I'm only going to be able to draw once per turn, unless I got the Hydroglyph Wanderer. This is the this is the only thing that's going to get me an artifact creature each turn to draw me a card with Losheel. I do like some of the protection that it's going to be, but again, I'm going to be kind of a burn deck, and my go wide is likely going to be blockers unless I have the Archangel of Thune. Um, I'll keep that in for now. Blitzball and Commander Sphere. Let's see how long that'll stick around for. I like bracers, coat, and protection. Um, yeah, okay. 3 CMC. If you are draw card, exile top 2 instead. Quick deck, lots of cheap stuff to keep going. Impulse draw from red would be good here. A lot of your creatures have nice death triggers too. Yeah. Um, Okay. Impulse drawing, casting from exile. What do you guys have? card cards specifically that you're thinking of right now? Is that, um so, like, are you thinking that second Urabrask that exiles a card off the top, um, and then the opponent only gets to draw like, do stuff off the top? Are we thinking or are you thinking, like, instants and sorceries that do that kinda stuff? So, like I said, I like Sting, especially with some of the other activated abilities out there, Goblin Engineer. Yeah. Hobbit Sting, I still really don't care about this card. I don't think I'm excited about it. It does not bring me joy. I'm probably gonna get rid of that. Sunshot Militia, I'm okay, like, so each turn I can tap that stuff, and most of that doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm done. Well, weapons manufacturer, yeah. Legion extruder. This is one that I feel like I just saw this going up in price, and I'm just kind of like, I get why it works really well with the lobster, but it also feels underwhelming. I think it's underwhelming. Ugh. Okay, we'll get rid of it. Just doesn't do anything for me. Jessica's Will and Urabrask. Yeah, I mean Jessica's Will makes a ton of sense. Yeah, yeah, I forgot about that card. Uh, so Jessica's Will is not if it's not in a red deck, it's basically because I ran out of proxies. So you're totally right. How about that? I just ran out of proxies. I'm flush with them. They're all gone, all out. Um, Maybe my real problem is making too many red decks. All right, mirror retriever. I still like spawning pit. We like the protection of greaves and boots. Bracers getting that double sun droplet. I really like. Here's one thought that I'm having at this point. Um, is life gain versus like the incremental gain, as in Feldar Umbra and giving Ragost life gain or life link is gonna gain me that's gonna net me 9. And that's gonna untap at the end of the turn, and then I'll be able to do it, and then I'll be able to do it again. It'll always untap because it has life link. Oh, okay. So then all those little dinky gaining life from stuff coming into play probably don't matter nearly as much. I'll gain more life with the life link, and I should almost always be able to do it. Pop, 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 pop. Ooh, that feels good. I think it's life link. Okay, hold on. So we are going to cut Authority of the Councils, Soul Warden, Soul's Attendant, Leon and Elder. What else? Anything else? Easy off the top. Pop, pop, pop. Okay. That felt weird. I did not expect that. And then I think any other incremental, I'm cool with Hylia because it draws me cards. Gaffer doesn't give me any life, but draws me some cards. Okay. All right. That makes oh, okay, hold on. I think Sun Droplet and Scrap Heap still kind of work. Huh. All right. So shout out of Scald's Velicote, Exploration, Light Up the Stage, Hamfeld, Outpost Siege. Inti is the one when I discard a card, I get to exile a card, and like there's like trample and +1 involved for red and colorless from Ixalan. I don't think I'm discarding enough cards in this deck for that. I don't know if I know the next one. I like the landfall one. That can make a lot of sense. Light up the stage. I had just a little sorcery thing. I don't know how much I like that because I'm not running. I don't even think I'm running. Did I even talk about? Holy moly! Hold on. Like I'm not running any sorceries or cantrips that are drawing me cards. What's the draw two discard two? Why am I blanking on it? Because I don't even have it in here. That doesn't make any sense. I love that card. Must be in the. Give me a second. I'm building Sonic as well, and so they might have been stealing from each other. Let's see here. It should be in here. Oh. So that right there showed you the big downfall of just going through your cards and building a deck because you just miss great cards when you run out of them, like Jessica's Will and other cards. So I don't know where the other ones are, but that's where I'm at. Faithless Looting. Thank you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I have a bajillion copies of that. I just don't know where it is. Looting. So I do like the lifelink on Ragost. I think that's probably where I'm going to lean at this point. I like Servo Schematic, out of Insane, Nimble Right Schematic, Prize Statue. Yeah. Yep, 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 yep. Instant ramen, just some cantrip. Oh, that might be why I didn't do it. Is because a lot of these artifacts, ETB and cantrip, and I think I'd rather do that than have instances sorceries that are going to have me look at more cards. I'll just pack it with that. That was the idea. Acid Perth. Oh yeah, I like all of these. Yeah, Fable of the Mirror Breaker is another one. Like that one's. I love that card. It's perfectly balanced. It's not a Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker where it just can go infinite on accident. Like I like Fable for sure. I don't see anything in this two spot that I can cut at this point, and that's going to worry me in the future because there's a lot in this spot. All right, one spot. I like the little bit of protection. Lifelink, welder. Bop, bop. We're just dispatch works. I don't have a lot of removal. I don't want to get rid of it. Volt, lotus petal. I think I'm willing to cut this. I'm not looking to be that fast, and I have a lot of really good real ramp as well. Um, so let's cut petal. Curse of Opulence. I like just all the gold triggers. Bobble. Yep. Okay. Starting to get a little skinny. Let's go in. What are they doing? Oh, I am I glitching for you guys? Let me know if I'm glitching. I see glitching. I'm worried that my camera's dying. Removal. Graveyard. Let's go with life gain. Food. Whoop. Let's organize this just a little bit. All right. Cantrips. Rampers. Tokens? That might be life gain. Tokens. Call that doublers? Tokens. Ooh. Yeah. Graveyard. Just a secondary product. That's that's okay. All right. We're getting into, all right. Damage, direct damage. That makes a lot of sense. That's graveyard. It's untapping. Normally, okay, right now I have 8 spots. Normally a deck I like to fit into like 6, which is really like ramp, draw, protection, removal, and then like 2 things that the deck is doing. And then like generally it's like a little bit of random that works with everything. And so this when I do this kind of thing, this kind of shows me like I think it's okay to get in. It's definitely okay to be in 6. And then when I start getting into 8, I'm like maybe I have too many ideas and I should start thinking about cutting ideas rather than just cards. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Draw. And so right now we're talking about like graveyard reanimation, life gain, damage, tokens, untapping, doubling effects. Like we start going like this ends up being almost like too much. And so we'll have to take a look. Draw. Manas. Untapping. I do put like protecting myself and protecting my creatures and permanents in the same box. And normally that's going to be under 10 spots. Tokens, wrath, damage, drawing. Let's play draw, manas, doubling effects. I try and I also, even when I'm making these little categories, I'm trying to combine as much as I can. So like Panharmonicon and bracers fit in the same category of doubling effects. And that's just kind of what's going on. Life gain, tokens, mana. That's cares about life gain, damage. That's in doubling effects, reducing cost, doubling, tripling effects, mana, and removal. Okay. So that's where the deck is. I'm going to finish this. You are glitching. Okay. That's scary. I think Lithoform Engine is going number 1. Not a huge fan of the card. Number 2, I do really like that card in Zerta, so hypocrite, I guess. But I don't think I wanna probably do something else with my mana. Alright, on to the second beer. That'll probably be it for the night, beer-wise. Um, okay, so smallest one, we have 3 things that are gonna be able to untap within this deck. Again, I can withhold how much I wanna get rid of it or not until I see creature stacks. All right, doubling effects are going to be City on Fire, Archive, Panharmonicon, and the 2 bracers. Um, Panharmonicon works with the damaging, so like artifact comes into play, this triggers showing this double trigger. So I do really like Panharmonicon in that regard. City on Fire is tripling that damage. Archive is drawing me a bunch of cards. To whereas the bracers are both kind of only for the commander. Nothing wrong with that, but there is the potential to run out of mana to sacrifice and or artifacts to sacrifice. And I probably like at this point, I'll probably cut these two. If I wanted to reduce rather than just cut, I could be like, cut these two, add Elish Norn. But at this point, we're just going to cut the two bracers, unfortunately. Um, let's go with the damage. Guys. Uh, Artillerist, Fireweaver, Militia, Manufacturing, and Myrrh. I mean, I'm pretty happy with all those. They're not taking up a bunch of space. We got 5. It's kind of just like, hey, if people are keeping the lobster off the table, I still have enough artifacts coming into play where I'm going to affect the board and be pretty happy. So happy with that. Tokens. So this is I think the questionable spot. Um I like the sack outlet. I like the ETB and die trigger, and then it's adding, it's 1, 2, 3 artifacts to sacrifice to Ragost. I really like that aspect. I like spawning pit, almost thinking of it as a like protection, as in like sacrifice 2 creatures during a wrath, and then make them into 2 spawn artifact creature tokens, which totally works in this deck. But it's a small part that ends up being I think all right, let's go with I like this makes artifacts. These don't make artifacts, even though they go wide quite nicely. I think we're gonna get rid of things that aren't making artifacts. So that's 2 more cuts. I still like probably these 4 in my token spot. So we're fine with that at this point. Life gain feels a little thin for life gain, but happy with Archangel of Thune. I like Scrap Heap. Sun Droplet. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 things that give life link. 1, 2, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and really 8 with this Dancer Chakram. Um, so that I like the idea of the card. I like that it's giving life link in this kind of deck. I think Astrid Perth just is in there. That's and so if I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, if I had to cut something, it's that. And so let's cut that. Um, kind of the reanimation or the juggling act. Scrap, Pia, pop, pop, pop. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Again, in that same situation with lifelink. Like, I don't know if I'm supporting lifelink or damage or reanimation nearly enough. If I cut anything from the juggling act part, it's probably these 3: retriever, assistant, and diver. At this point, I'm gonna be okay. We'll see where it's at. Removal is holy shit. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think I can remove any of them just because I only have 4 pieces of removal, and that's likely not enough. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces of protection. Um, it's under 10. So I don't necessarily have a problem with that. Protection on the commander. Those three, four, five, six. Really protecting Ragost there. I like Boral's Charm and Fierce Protection just because it protects the artifacts as well to Vandalblast or whatever the such. So those two I think are in. Norn's Annex. If I'm just trying to sit back behind Burn, Annex probably is pretty nice. I don't have a lot of blockers, especially getting rid of the go wide type cards. Um, I get attacked a lot too. Let's keep it. What here can we get rid of? Coat, boots, greaves. I just like those because they're artifacts, and I like swift reconfiguration for that same aspect. Um, let's having free protection so good. It's trouble. It's trouble. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll get rid of deflecting SWAT just because we want to see. I don't know how targeted Ragost is going to be. I don't know a lot of things. And so adding those cards, one of the things that I do is just I cut cards that everybody sees and everybody plays, and I play a lot of too, just to see if I can get away with not playing them. And then if I have to, then they just kind of work their way in too. Kind of like Jessica's Will. It's just like, ah, fuck, this is so good. It's gonna get me there. All right. Drawing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 18. Shoot. Normally I'm in between 15 and 20, which is exactly where I'm at. Is there anything that absolutely does not work? If I had to cut something, it's probably familiar and mender. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Shield. I'll have to that'll depend. Yeah. Draw, 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 draw. Pop, 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 pop. Nope, that's not right. So I've cut one from the mana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. We don't need to cut much from the mana or from the draw. Mana's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 23. All right. So we got a bit of mana here. I like to have it again, like draw in between 15 and 20. Um, let's see here. Twos. Ones, just looking at that little bit of a curve. We are glitching. That is not good. Let's see if I can zoop. All right. Higher end of the curve is a Solum, Neheb, Ugin, Cavern. I mean, out of these, I think Neheb has to go. If I'm trying to juggle, Ugin is going to be really good. Solum has the ETB and Death Trigger. Cavern Horde Trigger is just Dragon is a stud. It's a stud. All right. Neheb is gone. That one spot. We have artifacts into the graveyard, like Wayfarers. We like. Okay. Okay. So the decision that I would have to end up making is so like Brian, like you brought up earlier, like Burgie, is that better than a Foundry Inspector or Voyager? I think it's better starting off, but maybe not during the juggling process. But it probably doesn't matter a whole ton. And my Sonic deck got countered super hard. Ooh, that's an interest. Like, what do you got going? Because I am building Ragost and Sonic. I'm just waiting for Sonic to show up at this point. I don't even know how you're doing both of them in the same time. You're a genius. Um, so right now, regretfully, I think I need to get rid of Sphere and Blitzball. Oh, just because lower is better. 2, 3, 4. We're doing enough weird stuff with like prize statue, victory chimes, the reducers. Probably where we're at. Up up. Where we at? Mana White or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 20. All right. Can we cut one more from that mana aspect? All right. Hashtag Team Forest Walk. Of course. Of course he doesn't. All right. Let's make a competition. Like, is it better to have 2 artifact creatures in the deck or Ugin that's going to reduce it by 2? This works with like low shield. I got rid of Tishar. This loot reduces the CMC or the curve towards Ugin, allows it to be bigger. Um, doesn't affect everything. Also doesn't affect anything or everything. Ugin probably gets cut at this point. So we're down to 19 on the manas. We'll probably have to cut 1 or 2 more from there. Let's card types. See where we're at. See, I mean, we should have a lot of artifacts. We should have some artifact creatures. Um Not a lot of instants and sorceries. I generally tend to shy away from those anyway. I'm just kind of how it goes. I like creatures and artifacts and permanents, and especially since, like, again, a lot of my play group, we don't really counterspell stuff, and so spells become really powerful. And most people probably don't really catch on to that. But I want to make sure that we are not being too crazy. Enchantment. There we go. Artifact. Artifact. All right. Yeah, I mean that mm, so like I said, I am also building Sonic. Kind of just waiting for Sonic to hit in the mail, which is going to happen Friday. Then I got to get it from my co-host Adam. He bought it for me because I was in Yellowstone when it came out. So oh good for me. Let's see. I got a soundboard. There we go.
Oh, good for you.
I apologize. And but Pyrohemia definitely works there in Sonic like 100 times better. But also like when I am building decks, I want them to feel different enough as well that like when I choose a deck, I can feel like the game is different. It's a big reason why I don't use tutors, and it's a big reason why I make a lot of choices that I do to and so, like, game winners, whenever there's a game winner, I tend not to put it in multiple decks because that feels, a very similar way on how to end games, but also how I feel is, like, when it's a glue card, something like Soul Ring or Arcane Signet or Solemn Simulacrum if you're into that, like, I don't feel as bad. That's just a glue card to move the game forward. It's not a central point. It's not a pinnacle of what's happening. It's just trying to go from A to B to C to D within a game flow. And though that for some reason doesn't feel repetitive to me. And maybe not everybody agrees with me there. That is just being mean. When's the next stump the smooth brain savant? Hey, look, I've won 5 in a row at this point. If I won one more, if I win one more, we're gonna start giving away a Ragavan. So it's only been a year, but that's not too smooth brain. All right, sorcery wise, we have one Battle of the Baywater. I just flicked my artifacts everywhere. Instance, not too many. Protection, 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 and some removal. Not a big deal. One planeswalker with Duretti. It's kind of doing what the deck is doing. We're cool here. Enchantment wise, tripling, creating another artifact, lifelink, juggling, protection, mana. I don't dislike any of that. Okay, let's go here. I gotta find the artifacts anyway. Oop. All right. Just for a little bit. Look, I was I go on runs and then this last winter, woof, was that rough. And then it really affects my ego. I'm gonna admit that. Like it's when I go just like every other, it's like I should know these. This is and um my brain juice. I'm not drinking as much, and it's impressive how much it's affected me in being bad at Stump the Smith Savant. It's been weird, but also answers a lot of how I did in college. So, all right, let's look at these creatures. I do know we want to look at creatures with activated abilities and how many there are. One, two, three, including Ragost. Look, oh man. Okay. All right. All right. All right. That's a big one. Okay. So there is a stack here along with just one, two, three, four. 5 with the lobster. And so I would probably say untappers is probably unnecessary. Other than so like yeah, Jeopardy guy Ken. No, I am not like Ken. Ken's made a lot more money than me. How about that? That is at least the biggest difference is that he's just made a lot more money. Sorry. Drum bellower, like it's not gonna help me with the activated abilities. It'd be just as good if I had a life gain thing for a Ragost. But I do like it if I'm gonna be aggressive and I can untap my creatures. Um and it does block. I'm okay with drum bellower. I'm probably gonna go after Sting and Thousand Year Elixir with just like those singular on taps. I'm gonna cut those two. Mainly because it's not going to affect enough, and I'd rather just have Greaves and Boots. So that's what's kind of there. Creature wise, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 30. All right. How many artifact creatures do we have? I think that's a legitimate question for Lochiel. Um, because that's just not going to be affected truly that much. I guess we have that. That. Oh, it's starting to look like there's at least enough there to support Lachille in the 99. Yeah. I don't dislike Lachille at this point. We'll just have to recheck that along the way. What are some other questions as we go through? Um, I still feel like it's too expensive and it's not really working. But at the same time, like I like the ETB with the life gain, which is perfect, and the death trigger, drawing cards. I do for what's going on. I like it. Same thing. Why Lochiel will work, Wonderglass will work. If one goes, the other should probably be going. Juggling damage. Astrid Path, I think just works. I think it just works. Same thing with Archangel of Thune, Ratchet, Surtur. Okay with the Gaffer. So at this point, I'm sitting here looking at it, and I'm just kind of going like, Quicksmith Genius is only. I'm like super happy if I have Archive in play. Hamlet's Archive. Otherwise, it feels like I'm just going to run out of hand really quick. So I think we're just going to go. All right, we'll cut that. All right. Let's go artifacts. Question about earlier when you said other commander podcasts, like they have an annoying host and whatnot. What does that mean? Just curious. Because honestly, here, history about Commander Smiths. So we're hitting up on like 8 years coming in February. So like we're, 7.5 years at this point, easy math. And we do SmithCon. We've been doing that for 3, 4 years at this point. This might be our fourth, fifth, whatever. Um, and so, but like at the beginning, we tried to be on Twitter and we tried to be on other podcasts. We weren't super successful when it comes to that and branching out. We just kind of do our own thing. Um, so I just I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to get at this point. I just, you know, curious. Oh, I don't I stopped listening. This was the point. So like I stopped listening to other podcasts, god, probably around a little after COVID. So I had like 4 years of where I kind of listened and took in other spots. And then when we stopped trying to like reach out and have people on ours and be on theirs, again, didn't do it a whole ton, but well, I just kind of like fell off and I'm just doing my own thing. And so is Adam. Um, but like I don't even know who's out there if they haven't been out there or if I have not, like I know who um you know the nicest people to us were like CMD Tower.